Hello there. Here we are with the bonus issue for issue 54. Let's go ahead and dig in. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is the Sheathipede, I think that's how you say it, the Sheathipede class shuttle. And so, this was for the Neimoidians. It was a short-range executive transport shuttle, 20 meters long, had a speed of 880 kilometers per hour, no hyperdrive, no weapons. There was an armed variant that had 3 laser cannons. It did have very heavy deflector shields. Had 1 crew or an autopilot, and if it was an armed variant, it had a pilot and a gunner, and you could have up to 6 passengers. The Neimoidians who controlled the Trade Federation chose the Sheathipede class shuttle, specifically because the ships were considered symbols of decadence, wealth, and privilege of their owners. The vessels were designed and created by Howar Chal Engineering, who went on to create many of the vehicles for the Trade Federation military before and during the Clone Wars. But each of the 20-meter-long shuttles had a bespoke interior that was specific to the needs of its owner, with some of Howar Chal's customers going to extraordinary lengths to outdo one another. The short-range shuttle was never intended for longer journeys and consequently was not equipped with hyperdrive or weapons. Due to this lack of any armament, the shuttle was heavily shielded and frequently flew under fighter escort. A lasting impression, most starships are equipped with flat-footed landing gear that allow. This was really actually an interesting thing. So, flat-footed landing gear that allows the weight of the vehicle to be spread evenly on landing. In total defiance of this convention, the Sheathipede class shuttle had 4 spike-footed landing legs, resembling the claws of the aggressive soldier beetle on which the shuttle was based. The landing claws folded back onto the shuttle's exterior, as there was no room inside the ship into which the claws could retract. The claws entirely purposeless points, that's weird to say, meant that the shuttle could only land on hard, reinforced surfaces on planets or other starships. These sharp spikes almost always caused some small damage to the landing platforms the shuttle visited, leaving a somewhat disrespectful, if intentional, "we were here" signature, a lasting impression for all to see. Those that could not afford a proper landing pad were considered beneath the Trade Federation's attention and simply not worthy of visiting. Some believe the landing claws were added intentionally for this reason, based on the Neimoidians' distaste for dealing with lesser worlds. So it was a shadow. The symbol of as a status symbol for Newt Gunroy's personal Sheathipede shuttle was named the Lapis Cutter. It carried the Viceroy during some key moments in the galactic history, including Neimoidian's invasion of Naboo and his escape from Geonosis during First Battle of Clone Wars. Gunray would go on to use the shuttle extensively during the years of conflict that followed, taking it on his official visits to other planets such as Rhodia, where he hoped to impose his will on Senator Anaconda Farr. Originally, the shuttle was controlled by a droid pilot, which led to less than satisfactory quarters for Gunray. The droid pilot and his cockpit were later removed, allowing the cabin area to be expanded, offering more comfort for their arduous journeys to and from orbiting spacecraft. Gunray always traveled with a bodyguard, and his droid resided in its own chamber at the top of the boarding ramp, separated from the main cabin by blast doors. The Clone Wars service. The exclusivity of the Sheathipede class was considered a great luxury, but during the Clone Wars, the Neimoidians' elitist sensibilities took a bow when several shuttles were commandeered as basic transports. An armored version of the shuttle was created by Howar Chal Engineering, which included a slightly wider cockpit to allow space for a gunner, and 3 added laser cannons, one on each side under the cockpit, with the final cannon mounted at the apex of the top wing. Count Dooku, General Grievous, and others considered important enough by the CIS were gifted shuttles, and with that the vessel's exclusivity was gone forever. To impress and placate diplomatic contacts, Dooku frequently offered the expensive Sheathipede-class shuttle as gifts, and one was given to Mother Talzin of the Night Sisters of Dathomir. Dooku and Grievous both retained the pilot's cockpit since they did not want to trust their fate to completely automated systems. After Clone Wars, Sheathipede-class shuttles remained valuable. They soon became collector items for the wealthy, like the likes of Cato Neimoidia's Baron Tarko and Alderaan's Bail Organa, buying these luxurious starships for their own use. Design inspirations. Howard Chul, it's just fun to say because I'm saying it wrong, I'm sure. Engineering was founded by the insectoid Z. Charans on the planet of Charos IV, where with fanatically religious devotion to their craft, the workers toiled in cathedral-like factories. Like most Z-Char designs, the Sheathipede-class transport shuttle was inspired by forms found in nature. In the case of the shuttle, its design was based on a type of soldier beetle whose body form and stance was echoed by the upraised, prominent stern, the bow ramp, and claw-foot landing gear. Droid or pilots or passengers. The shuttle standard configuration included space for a forward cockpit, but many Neimoidians did away with this, automating the piloting and using the area for extra passenger accommodation. They were still never satisfied by the space available, always wanting more. There you go. In miniatures, few collectible models have been based around the Sheathipede-class shuttle, although in 2009 LEGO brought out a Separatist shuttle set 8036 from the Clone Wars episode when Nute Gunray visits Senator Onaconda Farr on Rhodia. The 259-piece set included an interpretation of the armored version of the shuttle, along with 5 minifigures, a battle droid pilot, 2 standard battle droids acting as bodyguards, Anaconda Farrar and Nute Gunray. In 2012, LEGO also introduced a mini version of the shuttle in its Advent calendar set. So there you go. And basically it talks about how when Nute Gunray was at Rhodia, this creature knocked it off into the swamp, and Gunray had it retrieved because he loved it so much. So there you go. All right, the Naboo Lake Country. So I'm not going to go through the entire bit of this because there's only bits that I found interesting. But essentially, so we talked about Naboo previously, where all of the waterways were linked through the planet's core. That's not true when it comes to the Lake Country. So basically, all of the water in the Lake Country comes from originally came from glacier melt, and basically, the glacier melt created all these, and now all the water keeps refilling it from snow melt every summer. So it keeps being replenished and that kind of thing. So, but it's definitely considered very beautiful. And then this, like I said, this talks about how it's not connected to the other waterways, but basically that it could still be potentially dangerous. It can be arranged in a number of commodities edge of water. Despite the fact that Lake Country isn't linked to the underwater abyss, its waters shouldn't be underestimated. They are usually calm, but during stormy weather, waves can be dangerous for simple boats or speeders and currents in the narrow straits can become tricky as well, so it can be a tad bit dangerous. So it's really good for farming country. You get a lot of these prairies and whatnot, so they're able to raise a lot of animals and a lot of top quality grain and vegetable crops. Some very fertile land, which you see often where you had the glacier melt and all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, there's oh, this one was somewhat interesting. So, religious order on the shores of the Lake Country near the base of the mountains, the ancient religious order of the Brotherhood of Cognizance built a secluded abbey. The Brotherhood is a contemplative order seeking enlightenment from studying and worshiping art. Centuries ago, the Brotherhood's pontifex would regularly legalize marriages on Naboo. This law was never officially deleted from Naboo's fundamental law, and it was still in order during the last decades of the Galactic Republic. The first pontifex to perform a marriage in 300 years was Maxarin Agalaregra, who legitimized a secret matrimony on Varakino at the start of the Clone Wars. Surviving documents state that the order counted only about 20 hermits at the time. So, yeah, it was very secluded and whatnot. Another interesting thing is it's important to note that there was a ancient villa, and it was called the Varakino Villa, and basically um, it ended up getting purchased by where's the name? Sorry, trying to find it. The Nabiri family. So Varakino was owned by the Vakiri family, who used it as a retreat. Its caretaker at the time was Paddy Aku, a former member of the Royal Naboo Security Forces and private chauffeur for the Royal Palace of Theed. The Nabiris became one of the prominent families on Naboo when their second daughter, Padme, was elected under the elected ruler of the planet. As queen and later senator, Padme Amidala turned out to be one of the most popular monarchs and politicians in Naboo history, who would go on to play a leading role in galactic affairs during the Clone Wars. Padme Amidala spent many happy times at Varakino during her childhood, including her visit to Lake Country when she was in school. Legend says that she was married at Varakino to Anakin Skywalker, one of the heroes of Clone Wars, in defiance of the Jedi Code. Sadly, Padme's fate was no happier than Baranko, as she died at the very end of Clone Wars. So obviously we know what happened to Padme. Yeah, but I thought her last name was Amidala, but it turns out her last name is Nabiri. So I don't know where the Amidala comes from. I thought that was rather interesting. That was probably one of the most interesting things. So we got some behind the scenes here. I know you guys how you guys love that so much. The location of Varakino in Attack of the Clones was Villa de Balbiano, built in 1787 on Italy's Lake Como. With no road to the villa, the production team had to arrive by boat, just as in the movie. Padme and Anakin's wedding was nearly postponed by overnight rainfall. It was still raining in the morning, but just 15 minutes before shooting was due to begin, the sky cleared and the clouds took on a dramatic post-storm look. While the crew was on location, they also filmed the picnic and shack scenes for episode 2 in nearby meadows. To add to the otherworldly look of the Lake Country setting, veteran ILM model maker Paul Houston created digital matte paintings of the region's waterfalls, basing them on a mixture of miniature model mountains and footage of natural falls. Kind of interesting. Now you know where that actually took place at. Sensor arrays. So, this was kind of cool. 3 components work together to give a starship crew detailed picture of their surroundings. The ship's sensors which gather data, the computer which collates and interprets the readings, and the readouts/displays that presents this information. The failure in any one of these vital systems has the potential to leave the pilot or gunners blind to the presence of space debris or hostile ships in their vicinity. There are two basic types of sensors. Passive sensors detect the energy such as heat, light, or other forms of radiation emitted by objects within range. Active scan mode sensors emit their own energy pulse and detect the interference caused by anything in the path of the pulse. In normal operation, both types of sensors play a part in helping a starship to navigate and negotiate hazards, including other vessels. But the difference between the two types of sensors becomes more important when those vessels might be hostile. Active sensors emit an energy signature that is easily detected by an enemy. Passive sensors, which are much harder to detect due to the fact that they consume far less energy and emit almost none. Sensor modes. Sensors can operate in three different modes known as scan, search, and focus. The default setting is scan mode, in which the sensors sweep across the area around the entire vessel, checking for environmental and navigational hazards and other ships in the area. If any object possesses a potential threat, the system will warn the crew and, if necessary, signal an alarm. The sensors can be set to scan with low speed, high definition, or high speed, low definition. When search mode is selected by the crew, the sensors will only pick up one class of target, such as a particular type of ship or radiation. The setting can be locked into the Navic computer to help the ship avoid a given type of hazard. Focus mode directs the sensors to a given vector, usually because the general sweep has picked up something in need of investigation. This can give highly detailed information about the area where the sensors are directed, but will not pick up anything outside it. When a number of ships are on patrol together, it is common for their captains to agree to scan separate but overlapping areas of space. This means that they can gather more detailed information than would be possible individually, without the risk of overlooking something important. Now, if we look at the Falcon sensor suite, two SAIP Aral passive sensor arrays feed data to the Falcon's computers and view screens. Both are in the bows, but to reduce the chance of the whole system being knocked out, one is in the port mandible and the other in the starboard. And in an emergency, the ship can manage with only one of them. Meanwhile, the Millennium Falcon's active sensors are far more compact and powerful than you would expect to find aboard a mere Carillion Engineering Corporation freighter. No matter how modified she has been, the civilian use of such sensor suites was outlawed by the Galactic Empire. More suited to a long-range scout ship, they are, in fact, military-grade packages built around full-spectrum transceivers, commonly known as universal sensors. They work together to detect every type of energy and object a starship can be expected to come upon, and the size of the Falcon's rectenna gives them an extremely long range. Electrophotoreceptors in the sensors work with the starship's recta and rectenna dish to deliver information to the targeting computer, while a series of dedicated energy receptors sense a range of the electromagnetic emissions, including the communications traffic. Heat and laser light. In short, it's next to impossible to sneak up on the Falcon when its sensor equipment is in full working order. There you go. That is everything from this issue. We didn't have any bonus scenes or behind the scenes for this. Basically, that I guess kind of acts as the behind the scenes. So that's everything that we did in this issue, and also we finished up our containers. So that was issue 54. Next time we'll be in issue 55. Again, we're going to get some more hull plating, some more framework, all the hardware to attach it, and these two things, whatever those are. And then, like I said, we've already put that together. So That's going to be issue 55. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching, and may the Force be with you always.